Chapter 1. A Man on a Mission. The morning sun over Hiroshima was already hot when Tsutomu Yamaguchi stepped outside his boarding house on August 6, 1945. The cicadas screamed from the trees with the feverish pitch of late summer in southern Japan. Dressed in a crisp white shirt and dark slacks, Tsutomu carried a leather satchel under his arm, a habit formed from years of meticulous engineering work. He adjusted his cap against the sun and set off through the streets, unaware that this would be the last normal morning of his life. At 29, Yamaguchi was neither a soldier nor a politician. He was a draftsman and marine engineer working for Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, one of the empire's industrial giants. In a different world, he might have built cruise ships or ocean liners. But in the sweltering summer of 1945, war had reduced engineering to a single brutal task: feeding the military machine. He had been in Hiroshima for 3 months on a company assignment, helping design oil tankers for Japan's increasingly desperate war effort. Food was scarce, fuel scarcer, air raids were becoming routine. The cities, once bustling with imperial pride, now existed in a state of anxious decay. Everyone knew the end was near. They just didn't know how it would come. His mission in Hiroshima was nearly finished. He was supposed to go home. His wife, Hisako, and baby son Katsutoshi were waiting for him in Nagasaki, a city he'd come to miss even with its growing number of bomb shelters and evacuation drills. He had planned to leave on August 5th, but there had been delays with the designs, and his travel papers took longer than expected. So he stayed one more night, just one. It would change everything. An empire on the brink. To understand what happened next, one must understand the world Tsutomu was walking through. Japan, in 1945, was a nation hemorrhaging at the seams. Nearly a decade of expansionist warfare, first in Manchuria, then across the Pacific, had left the country stretched thin, economically devastated, and militarily exhausted. The firebombing of Tokyo that March had killed over 100,000 civilians in a single night. Entire districts of Osaka, Kobe, and Yokohama had been turned into ash. Yet Hiroshima had remained largely untouched, not because it was insignificant, but because it was being saved. American planners wanted to test something far more powerful than conventional explosives. They wanted a clean canvas, and so the city, home to over 300,000 residents and a major military headquarters, was quietly placed on a list, a target list. Yamaguchi, of course, knew none of this. No one in Japan did. There were rumors, strange ones, about a new American weapon, but they sounded more like science fiction than strategy. Even seasoned scientists scoffed at the idea of a super bomb that could wipe out a city with a single blast. And so, on that morning, Yamaguchi walked toward the shipyard as he had for the past 90 days. He took the same route, a straight path that led him through the business district and over a bridge. He was just over a mile and a half from the city center, near the banks of the Oder River. Then, as he stepped off the tram and looked up at the sky, something caught his eye. A single B-29 bomber flying unusually high. The moment before history changed. What happened next has been described in history books, declassified memos, and eyewitness testimonies. But for Yamaguchi, it was a matter of seconds. A few small decisions, when to walk, when to look up, where to stand, separated life from vapor. At 8:15 a.m., the sky exploded. A blinding light, whiter than the sun, filled the horizon. He heard no sound at first, only saw. Then came the roar. A pressure wave, faster than sound, slammed into him. It lifted him into the air and hurled him into a nearby potato field. The skin on his left arm and the side of his face scorched instantly. His eardrums ruptured. Glass, wood, and concrete rained from the sky like jagged snowflakes. Later, he would describe the sound as a thunderclap that seemed to come from inside your own skull. In that moment, Yamaguchi's world ceased to exist. Where shops and trams had stood, there was now fire and ruin. The shipyard was gone. Entire city blocks had vanished in the blink of an eye. The city center, just 2 miles away, was already engulfed in a column of fire and smoke rising over 10,000 meters into the atmosphere. It was the first use of an atomic bomb in warfare. The Americans had named it Little Boy. It had changed the world. But Yamaguchi was still alive.